Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be exploring hypnosis niches,
Okay.
like how to choose one and why it matters. For, if you want to build a successful business,
Hmm.
you sent over some advice from Virginie.
Right.
She's a leading hypnosis trainer.
Yeah.
And her perspective really kind of took me by surprise.
Yeah. I can see why
Me too.
she challenges a lot of conventional wisdom,
Yeah.
especially the idea of like follow your passion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She actually advises against blindly chasing passion,
Right.
which seems kind of counterintuitive,
Yeah.
especially in fields like, therapy or coaching.
Uh-huh.
Why do you think she takes that stance?
Well, it's likely because, she's seen firsthand how entrepreneurs can get caught in what she calls the passion trap.
Uh-huh.
So, they might be incredibly passionate about something, like,
Mm.
for example, helping people overcome anxiety through hypnosis.
Mhm.
But they haven't stopped to consider, if there's enough market demand for that specific service, or if they can actually make a living from it.
Right. It's like opening a coffee shop just because you love coffee.
Exactly.
Doesn't guarantee a line out the door,
Exactly. And that's where iMira's logic-first approach comes in.
Oh,
So instead of just diving headfirst into a niche based purely on feeling,
right.
she recommends a more data-driven, almost like a scientific method.
So walk us through that a bit. Like, how can someone start applying this method to their own, niche search?
Well, the first step is to identify your potential target audiences,
Okay.
or what iMira calls clusters of people.
Okay.
And you really want to think about their demographics,
Uh-huh.
their needs,
Yeah.
and the specific challenges that they're facing.
So, like, for instance, if you're interested in helping people with stress management,
Right.
you might consider busy professionals.
Yeah.
Or new parents.
Mm-hmm.
Or even students who are facing exam pressure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you've got, a few potential groups in mind.
Right.
What's next?
Yeah.
Do you just jump in and start offering your services?
Not quite.
Uh-huh.
iMira really emphasizes the importance of thorough research before you commit to any particular niche.
Uh-huh.
You want to look at industry trends
Okay.
and, figure out what's hot right now,
Right.
what's in demand, and what areas might be oversaturated.
So where do you even start with that?
Mhm.
Are there any specific tools or resources that you would recommend?
Yeah, sure. There are a few things you can do.
Okay.
First, you can look at industry reports and publications that track trends in your field.
Uh-huh.
There are often free resources that are available online.
Okay.
And, many professional organizations offer reports to their members.
Mm-hmm.
Second, you can use keyword research tools to see what people are searching for online that are related to your potential niches.
Mm-hmm.
And this can give you an idea of the level of interest and demand.
Oh.
And of course, you can always check out online communities and forums where your target audience hangs out.
So it's really about getting a real feel for the landscape.
Exactly.
You mentioned online communities.
Right.
That seems to be a key part of iMira's approach.
Absolutely.
She actually recommends talking to potential clients directly,
Yes.
not just reading about them, but actually engaging with them.
That's crucial.
Yeah.
It's about getting out of your head
Mm-hmm.
and gathering real-world insights.
Okay.
So she suggests joining online communities like Facebook groups
Yeah.
or forums
Mm-hmm.
that are related to your potential niches.
So instead of just like lurking and observing, you would actually participate and ask questions.
Exactly. You want to ask targeted questions
Okay.
that help you assess the level of pain that's associated with the problem that you're aiming to solve.
So for example, if you were thinking about helping people with sleep issues,
Right.
you might ask people in a, sleep disorders group
Yeah.
how their sleep problems are impacting their daily lives.
That's a great example.
Okay.
You're trying to understand the depth of their struggle. Mm-hmm.
And whether their pain is significant enough to warrant, investing in a solution like your services.
Yeah.
And you'll also get a sense of how many people are experiencing this pain,
Okay.
which can help you determine if there's a large enough market to sustain your business.
And I imagine you'd also pick up on the language they use to describe their challenges,
Absolutely.
which can be really helpful for, marketing later on.
Yes.
Like you're getting this crash course in your target audience's mindset.
Exactly. This direct engagement can reveal so much more than just reading articles or reports.
And honestly, it sounds kind of fun too.
Yeah.
I love the idea of immersing yourself in these communities and getting to know your potential clients, before you even launch your business.
It can be quite rewarding.
Yeah.
But remember, iMira doesn't advocate for completely ignoring your passion.
Right.
It's not an all or nothing proposition.
Yeah.
It's about finding that sweet spot where logic and enjoyment intersect.
Okay. I'm really intrigued by this sweet spot idea.
Let's dive deeper into that when we come back in part 2.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we're back. And I'm still thinking about that, that sweet spot
Right.
that Imir talks about.
Wow.
Finding that balance between a niche that makes sense logically,
Mm-hmm.
but also something that you can actually see yourself enjoying day after day.
Yeah.
How do you find that balance?
It's a bit like Goldilocks and the Three Bears,
Okay.
Not too hot, not too cold, but
Yeah.
just right. And it starts with, really being honest with yourself about what you find genuinely interesting.
So let's say someone is super passionate about using hypnosis to help people improve their golf game.
Okay.
But the research shows that the market is tiny
Right.
and it's already crowded with, experienced hypnotists.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be a red flag?
It would definitely warrant further investigation.
Yeah.
They might need to get a little creative
Yeah.
and combine their love of golf with another area of interest to
Right.
create a more viable niche.
What about the opposite? Like, what about those times when the data looks fantastic,
Mm-hmm.
huge market, lots of demand,
Right.
but the topic itself is a total snooze fest for you?
Yeah.
How do you avoid picking a niche just for the money and then ending up miserable?
That's where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself,
Yeah.
can I see myself, creating content, marketing services,
Yeah.
having client conversations about this topic for years to come?
Yeah, if the thought already makes you want to take a nap,
Right.
it's probably not a good fit.
Exactly.
So it's not enough to just tolerate the niche.
Right.
There needs to be at least some spark of interest there.
Yeah, you have to be able to see yourself getting excited about, certain aspects of it.
But maybe you're not personally thrilled about helping people quit smoking,
Oh, okay.
but you love the challenge of crafting compelling marketing campaigns
Right.
or creating, innovative online courses.
Precisely, it's about finding those elements within the niche that can sustain your interest
Yeah.
and keep you motivated.
So let's say our listener has done their research.
Mm-hmm.
They've identified a few promising niches.
Right.
And they've thought about that balance between, logic and enjoyment.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if they realize down the road that they made a mistake,
Oh.
that they're stuck in a niche that's not working out?
Right.
Imir calls this being fathoms behind.
Yeah.
And I have to admit that phrase kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah, it's certainly not a situation you want to find yourself in.
Right.
Essentially, being fathoms behind means that you've fallen behind your competitors.
Okay.
So maybe you chose a niche with limited growth potential, or, you didn't adapt quickly enough to market changes.
So while you're struggling to stay afloat, your competitors are sailing ahead, gaining clients, and building their reputations.
That's the danger. It's like you're stuck in a rowboat while everyone else has a speedboat.
And Imir, as an experienced business coach,
Right.
she's probably seen this happen firsthand.
Oh, absolutely.
What are some of the consequences of getting caught in that, fathoms behind situation?
Well, it can be incredibly demoralizing.
Yeah.
Imagine, pouring your time and energy, your resources,
Yeah.
into a business that's barely staying afloat.
Right.
You might start to question your abilities
Mm-hmm.
and even your passion for the work.
That sounds like a recipe for burnout.
It can definitely contribute to it.
Yeah.
And the financial strain that often comes, with a struggling business could
Right.
just add another layer of stress.
Yeah.
It can become a vicious cycle.
So how can our listener avoid this fate?
Yeah.
Is it just about being, super meticulous in that initial niche selection process?
It's a big part of it.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
are there other strategies that they can use to kind of stay ahead of the curve?
So we're talking about avoiding that dreaded fathoms behind scenario.
Yeah.
Is it all about, nailing that initial niche selection, or are there things you can do along the way
Yeah.
to stay on course?
Well, nailing the initial selection is a huge part of it for sure.
Mhm.
But it's also about staying adaptable
Okay.
and being willing to pivot.
Right.
If the data tells you something's not working,
Yeah.
the market's constantly evolving.
Uh-huh.
So what might have been a hot niche a few years ago
Right.
could be completely saturated today.
So it's not like a set it and forget it kind of decision.
No.
You need to keep your finger on the pulse, track those trends,
Right.
and maybe even be prepared to refine your niche over time.
Think of it as like course correction.
Okay.
You're heading in a general direction, but you're also paying attention to, the winds and the currents.
Yeah.
Adjusting your sails as needed.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off needing to have it all figured out perfectly from day one.
Right.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Yeah, you have.
You know, Eimer's logic first approached that idea of the sweet spot and the potential pitfalls of getting fathoms behind.
Absolutely.
What's been the most impactful takeaway for you?
I think for me, it's the reminder that we don't have to choose between passion and practicality.
Right.
It's not an either-or situation.
Yeah.
We can find that sweet spot where we're both excited about our work and confident that it has a solid foundation.
I completely agree. It's a much more empowering perspective than just blindly following passion or chasing whatever's trendy.
Right.
You know, as we were talking about all this, it made me think of something else
Okay.
that Eimer didn't specifically address. But I think it's an important piece of the puzzle.
I'm curious, what is that?
It's the idea of values alignment.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about, market viabilities, profitability, personal enjoyment.
Right.
But what about choosing a niche that genuinely reflects your core values?
That's such an important point.
Right.
It's one thing to build a successful business, but it's another thing entirely to build a business that you're truly proud of.
Exactly.
One that feels like an extension of who you are at your core.
Imagine the difference between working with clients whose values clash with your own versus working with people who are on a similar wavelength, who share your vision for, a better world. It's bound to affect your energy, your motivation, even the quality of your work.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And when your work feels aligned with your deeper purpose, it's no longer just a job.
Right.
It's a calling.
It's like Eimer gave us the blueprint for building a thriving business.
Yeah.
And now we're adding this layer of soul, this sense of purpose that goes beyond just making a profit.
It's about creating a business that doesn't just succeed financially, but also makes a positive impact on the world.
So to our listener out there,
Yeah.
as you embark on this, niche finding journey, remember, Dea is your compass,
Okay.
but your values are your North Star. Let both guide you toward a niche that's not just profitable, but also deeply meaningful.
And remember, this is a journey of exploration and discovery.
Yeah.
Be curious. Be open to new possibilities. And trust that you'll find your way to a niche that feels like home.
That's a perfect note to end on.
I agree.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, happy exploring.